All right, good evening, everybody. This is the Community Solidarity Response Network. This is our weekly video minutes, our weekly podcast, where we talk about some of the things that we've done maybe last week. If you saw I think on Channel 13, we did an interview regarding the Ahmaud Arbery case. Some of the things that we're working on right now, and we're working on a coat giveaway with another awesome group that's in the city, and we're just finalizing all of the behind the scenes, who's going to do what, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, and also some of the things that we've got coming up in the future, like Kwanzaa. And we're going to talk to you how we're going to participate in Kwanzaa this year with the Toledo Kwanzaa House. All right, having said that, I'm Brother Washington Muhammad, one of the co-founders of CSRN, along with Jabril Bey and Mike Leonardi. If you follow our page last week, we had a lot of memories regarding one of our first protests, in particularly the one on November 24th, which brought everybody out. And from that day, we met on Tuesday, week after week after week. And Mike Leonardi and Jabril Bey, they're the ones that had this vision of being able to be activists and speak power to truth, and it not have to be religious based, Jody, or politically based. And they brought me in at the last minute, kind of late in the game, to help plan for a particular event regarding police brutality. And I got in, I assisted because I think that's one of my strong points, of being able to plan and execute. And from that day on, the three of us continued on in this journey. I use the pronouns he and him, and today I have my Diamond Heist outfit on. All right, if I was going to do a Diamond Heist, I would wear this, but I put on the scarf to soften it up a little bit. I've got my black beanie, I've got my wide body brown lens glasses on, I've got a black shirt, black pants, and as always, I'm dedicated to respecting and protecting all Black bodies, no matter the cost, no matter the gains or loss. And this is the home of Black Lives Matter and Justice or Else, here in Toledo or here in Northwest Ohio. And if you're watching, put something in the chat. If you see this later, like our page and scroll down our page and see some of the involved in Toledo, and how some of the things that we've done really make a difference in the lives of our people here in Toledo. All right, look, Jody, I think that's it on me introducing myself, what I've got on, what I'm wearing, and what I'm all about. What about you?
What's up, everybody? Jody J. Summers, child of the system, better known as Spoken Truth. So I'm the treasurer of this wonderful organization. Whole bunch of others. I do quite a bit in the city and surrounding areas and stuff like that. I am a brown-skinned, big bear son of a man that is more like a teddy bear for most people that actually get to know me. And I'm covered in crystals and wristbands and places that I've traveled, people that I've met. They aren't just nice for me to wear around my neck or keep around in my pocket. This is, for me, I have lived a very interesting lifestyle. And I don't hold on to many memories and stuff like that because it's painful. So I've learned to do this stuff, outwardly express what I know is already inside me. And I'm an Aries, so that some people could take that as aggression or being very into myself, without knowing that there's always just me and myself around, because you can't bring everybody through every door with you, no matter how bad you want to. And you can't take everybody on every journey with you. So a lot, as you get older, you look back at memories and then you just see gaps of you being there. I don't have a large family or friends like that. I've made a lot of my friends by getting to know you here, by protesting, by writing books, by doing art, by allowing myself to be public and be hugged, which was very awkward after
The
a lot of
pandemic.
stuff. Well, not even the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
Even me coming out as an artist and,
Uh-huh.
and doing all
Okay.
this stuff. I don't like touching people. It's not. I don't know. Some people have
Okay.
that. For me, I don't, and I got used to it because I got so much love back, and it's just weird to be the guy standing in there in the corner, like, yeah. After I get off stage, so I learn to hug people,
Okay.
learn to shake people's hands and talk to them, and still keep boundaries. Yeah, I've enjoyed this 7 years,
7
lucky number
7
journey.
years.
Before it was popular, before it was trendy, and all of that stuff. And one of the things that keep us grounded, like in many of my other boards and organizations, because you can't mix everything all into the same pot sometimes. You know, you gotta have your side dishes, your main dishes. Is mission statements and guiding principles, things that no matter how bad or unruly your personal life goes, when you close that door, this is the room you're in. So this is our mission statement. And my pronouns are him, he, and we. We's coming back a lot more. We is the everything I give to the community to be this vague kind of awesome guy that you barely know, but still gets the work done. That is what we is.
Okay, that pretty much describes you. All right. I'm still trying to figure him out now. But all right.
Most people, yeah. So our mission statement. One thing I guess I implore you, if you're starting a business, a nonprofit, anything dealing with a mass amount of people that you want to help or protect or save or anything, even a business, start something like this is where you start. Don't get the money or get the friends and get the fame and then be like, oh, how do we do a press release? I thank Brother Washington so much over the years after that, because I might be a writer, but yeah, the good technical stuff, everybody else on the team is better at that.
All right.
So here's our mission statement.
All right.
Yeah, it is. You know, here's our mission statement. We are the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, formed on November 25th, 2014, the day after it was announced that the killer, a Ferguson, Missouri police officer, of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager, would not be indicted. We bring awareness to the injustices experienced by Black men, women, and children who are disproportionately murdered, attacked, provoked, and harassed by law enforcement. Police brutality has to end. We bring awareness to the fact that most often police brutality goes without consequence or accountability. Police impunity has to end. We utilize the tactics of civil disobedience, event disruption, protest, and citizen advocacy to give voice to those who are otherwise voiceless. We facilitate progressive, community-based events that help foster self-development, and we discuss measures to hold local leadership accountable to their sworn duties, be they politician, clergy, law enforcement, educators, etc., etc. We want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of class, creed, or color. For all lives to matter. Black lives, yes, Black lives must matter. Injustice anywhere is a threat, yes, a threat to justice everywhere. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
All right, all right.
Got caught up in the tone here.
That's all right. That's all right. Now, and for you, before you started talking about the mission statements, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we've come upon in the last 7 years, but about the mission statement.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's really important for a group like ours, CSRN, to have a mission statement? Is it really needed? If somebody says, well, you really don't need one, just come together and do the work, all right?
It is. It's like your bylaws or your Robert's rules in politics. It may not have to be them, but it still has to have some type of structure, because as we all saw what happened in 2020, we were sitting there kind of in the background as been doing this for already 5 years, like, yeah, but also, oh crap, who is that? Why do they got a megaphone? Why are you giving him money? And what is your organization? I don't know, my shoe game. Sorry. But there was a lot of that. That's what mission statements, that's what having consistent, purposeful meetings, whether it be once a month, once a week, twice a week, helps because it lets you know that the people that are around making these decisions that literally do change the world are solid. They're not just going to dip out on you one day because you wore blue shoestrings in your red shoes and they got mad at that. Some people are like that, and that is their triggers. That is they're human. But stepping into this field, you have to know that a lot of people are treated inhuman, so they don't really know how to consolidate their emotions.
Yeah, yeah. And I think our sister Adessa said that we need a mission statement. It's needed, or the program isn't real. Yep. So thank you, sis, for for commenting, and that's a sister soldier out there. That's a sister warrior out there, and she's been to quite a few of our demonstrations.
Yep, I think she came to meetings when we did meetings back in the day.
Right, and not putting you on the spot, but before we get to our guiding principles, a few weeks ago we said that, hey, look, we are getting ready to get back to either a monthly meeting, and that's still in the works.
Yeah,
right now.
And I heard about. I don't watch much TV or news, but I kind of scroll sometimes. I heard that there's like a 13th different variant coming out or all that stuff. So again, I would like to have public meetings again because this is great. We know what we're doing, but we're also in somewhat of a closed system or box because we've been doing this forever. The fresh ideas, the person who just busts through the door like, let's shoot them all. I want to figure out why you say that. And there's probably some other ideas behind shoot them all. Maybe we could just plan them all or find some place to put that. Right. But it doesn't mean I need to discard you because we've had so many people walk through our doors.
Yeah.
So many different
people. And a lot of us with that thinking. And at one point, I think all of us, when we became aware of some of the things that we've been lied to, all right, my first reaction was close to that, but at one point, work has to be done.
Yep.
All right, and that may not be a part of the work, at least not in my skill set.
So I had many ideas knocked down. I wanted to drape a flag over the entire, MLK bridge when we first started.
Mm-hmm.
And banner and everything.
Right, and I know we're going on before our guiding principles, but what he said is true, and we did acquire a 40-foot by 60-foot tarp. These are the same tarps that you see on the tractor trailers, all right? And we wanted to make a statement on one of the city holidays that they were having, and we were going to drape this tarp over MLK. I still got the tarp. I still got the tarp at home.
Still got my inventory checklist.
And we still got the paint. So if something arises that the Spirit moves us to paint Black Lives Matter on a tarp and put it over the MLK bridge, which is awesome. Black Lives Matter and MLK.
Yeah.
All right.
And before we get into guiding principles, just to bring it full circle, that was me when I came, and it became, we raised the RGB flag every year for Black History Month.
That's right.
So from just the idea of just protesting to this is an official city thing. And
that's right.
Matter of years and patience.
And we're going to get in touch with Commissioner Gherkin to let him know that, hey, look, we're still here. It's happening again. All right. We can make it an easy way and a hard way, but it's happening, Commissioner. And he's been awesome at making sure that happens. What I'm going to recite right now are our CSRN guiding principles. These are the things that help us not implode from the inside. And these are our principles. All Black lives matter. Queer Black lives, trans Black lives, formerly and presently incarcerated Black lives, poor working class Black lives, differently able Black lives, Black elderly and children's lives, immigrant Black lives. All Black lives matter and are the creators of this space. We throw no one under the bus. We rise together. Ashe?
Ashe.
And Ashe means one who changes a thing or one who makes a thing happen. Thriving instead of surviving. Our vision is based on the world we want, not the one we're currently in. We seek to transform, not simply react. We want our people to thrive, not just exist. Think beyond the possible. Ashe?
Ashe.
Experimentation and innovation must be built into our work. Embrace the best tools, practices, and tactics, and leave those behind that no longer serve us. Ashe?
Ashe.
Evaluation and assessment must be built into our culture. Critical reflection must be a part of all of our work. We learn from our mistakes and our victories. Ashe?
Ashe.
Principal struggle can exist in a positive environment. We must be honest with one another by embracing direct, loving communication. Ashe?
Ashe.
Love, self-love is practiced in every element of all we do. Love and self-love must be a driver of our work and an indicator of our success. Without this principle and without healing, we will harm each other and undermine our movement. Ashe?
Ashe.
360-degree vision. We honor past struggles and wisdom from elders. The work we do today builds the foundations of movements of tomorrow. We consider our mark on future generations. Ashe?
Ashe.
Self-care means we build resilient spaces by budgeting time, energy, and resources for healing. Self-care is a regular, consistent, intentional, and essential practice. Ashe?
Ashe.
The most directly affected people are experts at their own lives and should be in leadership at the center of our movement and telling their stories directly. Ashe?
Ashe.
Training and leadership development should be fundamental. Our movement must constantly grow and leadership must constantly multiply. Ashe?
Ashe.
Now, before we take a break and come back, when you think about the guiding principles, why do you think those are important to have when you talk about the activist community, when you talk about protests, culture, grassroots organizations, ad hoc groups that just come together for a time? Why do you think guiding principles is so important, in what we do, Jody?
Well, I guess I don't know. As my life is ever evolving and stuff, it's more like mantras and or chants. It's stuff that it becomes like a riding the bike reflex. So if you know that is your goal, and everybody has the right to have a slip or a fall or something like that, but if you repeat that enough, then you'll start living it. It's like manifestation in a way, which is the foundation on a lot of stuff. And sometimes we fall short and forget that. But if you keep manifesting something, whether it be good or bad or somewhere in between, eventually it's going to happen. So it's more of a guiding principles, what your mission statement is and everything like that brings you to the table. This is your breaking of the bread to see when we did have our in-person meetings and stuff, because we would always pass these around because you're included just as much as us.
Right.
We're just the ones, holding on to the rope. Like, nope, it's not going to happen. There'll be some more people eventually, but I'm not letting go. So that's us. And that's what that does for us. That reminds us that every time we hear what our purpose is, it's not to bring our outside into the inside where we're trying to help people.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. And I've been a part of a lot of things that have started up, in the city. This is my 30th year being a part of the community, being a member of the Nation of Islam, and everything that comes with that. So I partnered up with a lot of groups, over the years. And one of the things that I believe they didn't have is a mission statement and guiding principles. So whenever you bring a group together like that, sometimes only one person gets to talk.
Yep.
And speaking of that, we've got Julian Mack, who performs as our spokesperson. He's just entered the chat, and we want to bring Julian on to introduce himself, what he has on, and really what has these last 7 years really meant to him. Let's see if we can bring him in from the green
Stop
room.
eating Brother Washington's chips and his burners.
Yeah, man. Hey, what's up, Julian?
Oh, there we go. What's up, y'all?
Nothing much. Hey, look, it's another Tuesday. We got our CSRN podcast, our weekly video minutes going on. Hey, we were just going to go to break after introducing ourselves.
Go to break. I was adjusting my lighting. I wasn't ready to come on yet.
All right. So how about this? All right, continue adjusting your lighting. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with the introduction of Julian Mack. We're going to talk about wellness too, because there's been a lot of overdoses that's happening, in our community, and then we'll take it from there. So, hey, listen, hang with us. This is the CSRN Video Minutes. It's our weekly podcast. Hey, listen, hang tough. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Dr. P. Not only am I a leadership coach, I'm a change agent, and I'm a race scholar. I've used my study of race to dismantle systems and organizations, but I also use that to help you as the individual become a better leader for your families and for your community.
Did you know addiction is a disease, not a moral dilemma? The opioid epidemic and substance use have a major impact on communities of color and many people's lives. Wasion Wellness Recovery Support Center offers culturally relevant inpatient and outpatient behavioral health treatment and recovery support services to any Ohioan struggling with addiction, mental health, or finding sober-safe housing. We must recognize that treatment is available and accessible to all. If you are in need of treatment or want to find out more information, you can call 1-888-728-2713 to talk to someone or schedule an appointment.
Hey, listen. Oh, you caught me and Jody in a deep conversation. All right, man.
Something in tune to what 5 minutes of heat is.
They never give us a warning when they're gonna pop us back in.
Well, you gotta pay more than a bag of popcorn every time.
Look, all right, we get what we pay for. All right. Hey, listen, we're back. Brother Washington Muhammad with Jody Summers, child of the system. This is the Community Solidarity Response Network. Hey, listen, while we were talking about our 7-year anniversary and some other things, we were joined by our spokesperson. So, Julian, if you could introduce yourself, what are you wearing? And, man, what has these last 7 years meant to you?
What's up, everybody? My name is Julian Mack, preferred gender pronouns he, him. I'm wearing today my Solidarity Fist, and I got on a new hoodie from a store called Stokely Star, Michael, which has, I think, some revolutionary gear, and it's a picture of old school Al Sharpton, and underneath of it says, "Don't touch my hair,"
Right, okay.
Go ahead and get that close up.
I used to say the same thing back in the day, but things have changed.
right.
I think it's fine.
I'm gonna say it while I can.
Yes, sir.
And what was the other question about 7 years?
Yeah. Last week on the 24th, we celebrated 7 years of CSRN, and also something else historic that happened that day. You participated in an interview downtown in front of the courthouse in the very same spot on the 24th that we had our first major protest for CSRN. We didn't even call ourselves CSRN at that time. So while you were being interviewed with the Mud Made hoodie on, the Black Lives Matter button, saying the things that you were saying in front of the courthouse, man, I was just having all types of feelings. So good looking for the interview. You spoke truth to power in the way that we do it. What has these last 7 years meant to you?
These last 7 years have been everything. It's not hyperbole at all to say that this work, working to preserve in defense of Black lives, has in fact saved this Black life, my Black life. We talk a lot about self-care and the burden of this work, right? The burden of the trauma, right, that we experience by being inundated with cell phone video and comments and just what it takes to just be engaged. What we used to call woke before it had the funny connotation to it that it has now, right? But we sometimes just focus on the negative, but the positive of doing work that helps my people and helps me has saved my life. What we do here is revolutionary in the fact that it's rooted in love, that it's rooted in that revolutionary spirit where none of us are free until all of us are free, right? And so that fight it can sometimes be a lot to carry, but it also has been an honor, nothing short of an honor, to be able to do this work and to be able to stand on the shoulders of giants and do the work that's needed in this time. I always say that, no matter what time period you're talking about in American history, there've had to be people like us doing work like this, right? And so when I was a child, I used to read about those people, and it's an honor to be one of those people. And I do take this work seriously, to be able to be one of those people and to push the paradigm forward as we move towards freedom.
All right. As we're talking about pushing the paradigm and being a part of this movement, we had said that we were going to talk about some health and wellness. And Julian, in the last 24 to 48 hours, we've had nearly 20 overdoses. I'm not a stranger to that. A lot of us aren't a stranger to that. What are some of the things that you think we need to focus on right now that could possibly save our lives?
Well, the first thing, there's no way you can solve a problem until you admit there is a problem. And we have a problem with what was known as the what is known as the opioid epidemic. But I think it's important to point out that there's several waves to this, right? Just like there was the initial COVID-19, right? Now, then you had the Delta variant. Now they're talking about the Omicron variant, or whatever other letter of the Greek alphabet it's on when you listen to this. But the same thing has happened with the opioid epidemic. And while I think our people may have been correct in assuming 20 years ago that this was an epidemic that did not affect our community, that's not true today. I just want to just to put this in perspective. Just in Ohio, right? If you're looking at the year 2000, there were 393 overdoses in the state of Ohio. If you're looking at the year 2020, there were over 5,800. The way that this crisis is functioning now is not the way that it functioned 20 years ago. We're dealing with a whole new monster in the poison that is fentanyl. So fentanyl is contaminated what many recreational drug users, it's contaminated the drug supply, right? Just to be honest and to be straight up, right? So that coke that somebody might think is coke, or that weed is sprinkled with a little something extra, and that little something extra can be something that kills you. And I know that from firsthand experience, where nearly 10 months ago I fell victim to the same thing, right, in a relapse of mine. So when I talk about what to be aware of, one, realizing that this is a problem. Two, realizing that this is not a problem that is in the rural area or the suburban area or that dominates. There was in the early waves in the 2010s, right? The opioid epidemic looked different, right? It came from doctors because of racism that exists within the medical system. When drugs like Oxycontin and things like that were being pushed, well, it was perceived part of the racism that goes along in the medical field is Black people are perceived to have a higher pain tolerance. So when the market for prescription pain pills was flooded in the early 2010s, in a weird twist of fate, the Black community was actually protected for quite some time due to the racism in the medical field from the opioid epidemic, right? However, that is not the case today, right? In the mid 2010s, like around 2014, 2015, 2016, there was regulatory, there was the government entities started to pull back and recognize the harm that prescription pain pills was causing in America. And so many of these people who became addicted by way of their drug dealer, who was their primary care physician, began to seek relief for that pain elsewhere. Coincidentally, or non-coincidentally, right? I think that there's more to this story than we may know right now. Just like I think more to the crack epidemic than we knew at that point in time.
That's right.
So I say coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, at the same time, this new drug, fentanyl, began to show up everywhere, right? But primarily in the places where there was a demand, where there was a demand, and where there was where the market was flooded with prescription pain abuse, right? So those places are like Ohio, West Virginia, Indiana, and so it created a black market demand that was insatiable for your street level dealer. And so opioids, whether it was by way of Oxycontin or lean became normalized, right? And soon became normalized on the black market. And it's gotten to the point now where it's becoming normalized in you don't know what may have an opioid in it because it's so prevalent and so much of it is everywhere.
Right.
I'll just speak to my own experience. The way I personally got turned out by fentanyl is because I was a busy man trying to keep up the lie and trying to not look like an addict. And the quickest drug I could get was fentanyl. I could get a bag of fentanyl quicker than I could get a bag of weed. And that's in Toledo, Ohio. Right. And I say that from personal experience. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much of this poison is really flooded the area. So I say that so I say what to be aware of. Be aware that this is out here. Be aware that this is something that people are doing. Be aware that this is something that people are doing knowingly, and this is something that people are doing not knowing.
Right.
At the same time. And the best thing we can do is bring people out of the shadows because whether it's in the light or dark, this epidemic is going on right now and people are dying at a record, unprecedented, unseen of, unheard of rate. So when we come out of the shadows and see what's happening in the light of day, you will see that people are hiding in the cracks and crevices of this city using these drugs purposefully or unknowingly and dying.
Right.
Because they're doing it in secret, and there's things that we can do to revive people. I've been revived by Narcan, right? Some of the harm reduction measures you can take is not being in solitude in the midst of use. That not doing that can save your life, right? Somebody knowing that you're getting high. All right. So that's the first thing is being clear of what the problem is, how it's happening, and why it's happening so rampantly. The other thing is harm reduction. I briefly mentioned Narcan. Narcan is a lifesaver. I would be dead today and not on this podcast if it wasn't for Narcan. And so I believe that every single person, 15, 16 and above should have at least one can of Narcan and know how to use it in this city. By simply doing that, you can save somebody's life, and it's something that can very likely happen, right? That person you see sleeping in the car at the mall may not be asleep. They may be in the middle of an overdose, right? More likely than not, that's what's happening.
Right.
And so it's important people get educated on what does an overdose look like? What do you do? How do you make sure? How do you know if that's the difference between somebody sleeping and an overdose? How do you know when to Narcan them or when to not Narcan them? When do you know when to call 911? These are things people should become familiar with, these harm reduction practices, because here's the fact, right? The use is high. Somebody whether they will admit it or not, is knowingly or unknowingly using fentanyl.
Right. That's right.
Somebody whether you know it or not, or whether they know it or not, is using fentanyl. That's how much of it is out here. And so the day will likely come where you have an opportunity to save somebody's life. And when that moment comes, it is it's scary. It's scary, right? You may forget where your Narcan is at. That's why it's recommend having more than one. So that's something that can be done. Also, another tactic I want to bring up that some people, may not look too highly upon, but look, it's about saving lives at this point. Fentanyl testing strips. Test your stuff. Find out if it has fentanyl in it. You may have to you may miss out on a little bit of what you think you purchased, but it's worth it to know what's in what you purchased, right? Test your stuff. Test your stuff. And so fentanyl testing strips are readily available. Narcan is readily available for free. If you want some Narcan or want some fentanyl testing strips, hit up me or hit up CSRN, send us a message. And also don't use alone, right? Don't use alone. And if somebody you know uses, don't push them into the shadows, because you may not see them again.
Right. And I'll add to that. We've got a phone number. I don't know if do I still have my yard sign with a phone number for anyone that's struggling with addiction. You can also call us. And when I say us, that's what I do for a living, is work in treatment and prevention. And like what Julian said, we're dying at a rapid pace. So regardless if we're talking about treatment, harm reduction is a part of that, even having needle exchanges. All right. For those who may not be ready for treatment yet, their lives are still just as valuable as anyone else's. And when we talk about harm reduction, we really missed a large group of our community that needs compassion and understanding too. But if you're ready for treatment, give us a call, 866-712-4401. We're waiting for your call. If you're tired of being tired, if you just can't deal with the loss and the grief anymore, if you don't get help from us, make that phone call and get help. Thank you. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, treatment works. All right, treatment works. I'm a product of treatment, right? I'm currently 9.5 months clean, and prior to that, look, each time I've gone to treatment, I've used less and less, right? And I pray and hope that I implement the strategies and tactics that have been taught to me. Pick up the phone, and that my last use is behind me, right? But Toledo has a wonderful recovery community. I'll say that. Not everywhere is blessed to have all of the resources that we have locally, right? Where we have plenty of recovery centers, and then even post recovery, there are places like I'm at right now. You'll see a little thing called TR in the background. I wasn't going to let everybody know where my undisclosed location is, right? But I'm in the back, but I'm in the basement at my apartment where I live, which is full of nothing but sober people, right? I don't have to come home and worry about somebody using or drinking a beer or doing something that is going to trigger me. I come home to a place that's full of support, right? That's full of people who understand the struggle of what it means to fight addiction each day. And that's a blessing, right? A lot of places don't have places like this. So if you're thinking about it, go ahead and take that leap. You know, I promise you, it's a decision that you won't regret. All right. I don't know many people that are in recovery that are like, dang, I really wish I would have used today. All right. I really wish, because if you really miss it that much, trust me, all of your pain and misery can be refunded 110%.
That's right. And I get a chance on a daily basis to see people get healed, to see people get whole again. And there is help, not only for treatment, but also the mental health that comes with addiction. And I would be hard pressed to find anyone that was steeped in addiction that did not have a mental imbalance accompanying it. So when we talk about wellness, we can't talk about protesting and activism without talking about how do we keep ourselves well. Right. You know, because being an activist is a dangerous thing. Being an activist means that you're going to be away from your home. You're going to be with strange people. You're going to be a part of unusual conversation. How do we get back whole from that? So I'm glad that we instituted through our guiding principles, self-love and self-care, because it's not all about yelling at buildings. It's not all about raising up signs. We're trying to create awareness, but at the same time, we need to be able to come back next week for the next fight.
Right.
All right, because there will be another fight. And before we take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about our last 7 years, what are some of the things that you do for self-care? You, Julian Mack, you, Jody Summers, you're everywhere. I don't even know how you do it. And that's a lot. What do you do for self-care, Julian?
I do a lot. I'm focused a lot on my self-care lately. I'll tell you what, it was a couple months ago, I realized that time invested, the one resource that that determines so much in our life is time and how we use it. And this was just a couple months ago, I had an epiphany. It might sound simple to some people, but this was an epiphany to me that time invested in my mental health is always time well invested, right? It's time well spent. And so when I realized that, it became a game changer for me. I stopped feeling, sometimes we can feel, there can be a guilt or a shame that comes along with prioritizing oneself, especially when one is in the business of serving others. But when I realized that, filling up my cup, I can't pour from an empty cup, and taking time to fill my cup up allows me to serve others better. It was a game changer. And so with me personally, I go to therapy twice a week. I go to I go to therapy 3 times a week, all voluntary, right? This is not something I'm court ordered to do or anything. But I go to a group therapy. Shout out to Fuse Recovery. Fuse is a very progressive, open-minded treatment place that looks at a lot of non-conventional methods of healing, right? So probably in a traditional sense, you may not be taught how taking a walk can really help your mental health. But I've discovered how all kind of things like painting, doing poetry, hey Jody, can help me heal and become whole. Right. I wrote my first poem in like a decade in group therapy about 2 weeks ago. Right. A poem where I predicted Rittenhouse getting off, and it was so therapeutic. I'm like, yo, I see why Jody does this now, man. I got to do some more of this stuff, like for real. There was such a cathartic healing aspect to, because me, I just talk, right? I just talk, I just get it out. But being able to be intentional with my words and choosing them deliberately was so empowering, and it helped, right? And so that I've also been reading or listening to a lot of audiobooks. Brene Brown, who does a lot of research around guilt, shame, has some awesome books out. Right, I've been going through all of them in order. I'm on my 5th one now, Brave in the Wilderness. But there's Dare to Lead. And it's made me a better friend. It's made me a better parent. It's taught me how to, that it takes courage to be vulnerable, right? Like, how could I talk about, listen, the stuff that I've talked about so far on this podcast, was the most embarrassing thing that happened to me in my life, right? And there's no way, right? Like I was hiding from y'all, 10 months ago when it came to talking about this stuff. But I'm learning that it takes courage to step into my vulnerability, and a different type of strength, true inner strength, comes from leaning into my vulnerability and then leaning into those lessons instead of running and hiding from them, right? And so reading Brene Brown has been a big help for me. Going to therapy has been a big help for me. I go to meetings, right? Like here at Team Recovery, we have a Friday, what we call the Friday Night Fire, every Friday, where we talk about recovery, but it's not just in the 12-step sense, but we talk about life and what we're dealing with. But it also gives us a chance to kick it, right? On Friday night, listen to some music and be around good people. So I do that every Friday. But then most importantly, is I have employed a good, strong group of like I don't know what to call it, like my mental health team, but like brothers that I can trust and that I share my life with, so that when life hits, which it inevitably always does and gets hard,
when it will again,
I can get some direction and guidance from men that have experienced what I've experienced, and men that can help me not to lean on my own understanding, to use a biblical terminology, right? And so all of that and prayer, right? All of that is key to my mental health. There's I could just spend a whole podcast talking about what I do for my mental health, but the thing is I make it a priority, right? If my mental health fails, it can lead to every single thing else I care about in my life failing. And I know it because I've done it. I know it because I've failed to prioritize it, and everything fell apart. I fell apart physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? And so I know from the school of hard knocks, and by having to put myself back together, I know what not to do now. And so if I can be the canary in the coal mine to tell you from my own experience, from my own near-death experience of not prioritizing my mental health, do these things. It won't be wasted time. Even if it feels like it's wasted time, it's an investment. And you can't go wrong investing in yourself, investing in your spirit, investing in your mind, investing in your soul. So prioritize your mental health. Your mind, body, and spirit will thank you.
All right. Thank you, Julian. I couldn't agree more. I wanted to also ask Jody, because he's been a part of the activist culture. He's been a part of the art culture, the protest culture, and he consistently comes back every week. And just because we come back every week, that doesn't mean that we're not going through personal struggles ourselves. All right, we do. But when you see us on our podcast, we're smiling. I may have a joke or two. When you see it at our protest, you see power, you see strength. But there's some things that we do in between protests. All right. So Jody, when we talk about being able to stand strong, be consistent, what are some of the techniques that you use to keep yourself as balanced as you could be?
I am blunt. Yeah. Like I've noticed throughout my life, I don't have a medium. I'm hot or cold. I have survived, I guess you could say, through all these lifestyles, losses, trauma, and stuff like that, because I don't take that me outside. Brother Washington is one of the very few people, and you too, Julian, that saw my transformation from 2015 and everything that happened in becoming all these names and organizations and stuff, but where I was then, and even a little bit of where I am now, just the difference where I am now, it's more heart than mental or spiritual, because that part for me is awesome. I don't think a lot of people can disconnect those three: the heart,
Okay.
the mind, and the spirit. For me, there have been times where all three have been messed up. There have been times where it's one or the other. For more or less now, through, I guess you could say, this years of training, being on stage, being able to drop kick any door I see in front of me and be like, "Hey, I'm Jody. I got these crystals on. Let me sign this check. All right, what else we doing?" And then go back outside, and whether I'm crying or upset or off to a next mission, to be able to shift between that. I would say those are kind of my gifts. To get on stage, like Julian is now understanding, my vulnerability has been my greatest strength, because I've always been able to say whatever happened to me, good, bad, and there's nobody that gets hurt in the process because of foster care and being homeless and all the other stuff. It was just, okay, at the end of the day, it's Jody. If I come back and y'all like me, all right, go somewhere else. But now there are literally thousands of people where if I click one thing or I come out the house and talk about something, they're watching, they're connected, they're affected. And I guess this is more of a stage of me learning that decorum that gets you to giving $50,000 grants and buying land for people, because if you notice, most of those people are very quiet about their personal lives unless they live off the attention they get from fame. Other than that, you see your foundation owners, people's rooms that I walk into, and I'm smiling and sitting there, and they're like, "You know, he owns half of the city." Like, so, but they're quiet, they're stoic. I never got that growing up. It was always led by your emotions. Somebody hurt you, you tell them. You don't know how precious time is. If you're angry at somebody, you tell them, because you don't know how precious time is. This could be your last conversation. I've had a lot of last conversations. And because through this phase of not being homeless, not being out of foster care, not having my mother murdered, or having exes and stuff, I became my image. There isn't a mask between Jody, Jay Summers, Ink True, Tears of the Wounded, all that stuff, because it's very, I guess, not brave. What do you do to be brave?
Would you say courageous?
Yeah, it's very courageous to be vulnerable and be like, "This is all of me. You don't like it? Oh well, because I'm not expecting you to." So when you start having people saying, "I trust you, I believe you, I care about you," it's like, crap, I'm not alone. Very weird feeling. But okay, maybe that's my lesson for this year and some other stuff. Again, 5 minutes to eat. We got a piece called Therapy that Brother Washington actually kind of dragged out of me as a trigger of a conversation we were having. And yeah, so in that sense, that's what I do. I make myself as visible as possible and do as much as possible, because it doesn't give me time to think about when I wasn't. When I have time to think about, which pandemic was horrible for me, but think about I wasn't, I think about all those people that I don't have conversations with no more. The businesses, the organizations and stuff. It doesn't sting because it's not fresh, because I found something to occupy my time.
Wow.
Can I add something that I think is I know yo, the sponsors are gonna kill us because we're going over so long here. I know we need a break, but while we're on this subject, I want to share, I think it's something important that I've learned from some of my readings. And this is advice for helpers that don't like to ask for help, right? Because I realize that's me. I'm a helper. That's a big part of my identity, and it's what I love to do. But I'm one of those helpers that have hesitated and made the grave mistake sometimes to not ask for help. So here we go. One, when you judge yourself for needing help, you judge those you are helping. When you attach value to giving help, you attach value to needing help. Okay.
All
2,
right.
the danger of tying your self-worth to being a helper is feeling shame when you have to ask for help. I'll say it again. The danger of tying your self-worth to being a helper is feeling shame when you have to ask for help. And on that, I'd like to just exaggerate a little bit. Each of us in CSRN, right? Well, this is a big part of what we do. This is not the only thing we do, right? We have other parts of our identity. You know, we have other, we're full human beings, right? And we do other things outside of here, and that's important. That's important for our longevity. 3, offering help is courageous and compassionate, but asking for help is also courageous and compassionate. Just something to think about. And then lastly, remember that regret is a tough but fair teacher.
Wow. Yeah. I think those are some things that, man, all of us can really can benefit from. Some of us that are watching us in the chat. Adisha's in the chat. Thank you, Adisha, for your words.
What's up, Adisha?
Right, Joe Dewey is in the chat. Thank you, brother, for your words. You know what we do. You know how we're trying to keep this movement alive and going. However, the movement just doesn't consist of angry Black people on the street. All right? It just doesn't consist of that. Even though some of us that are looking at what we do from the outside, you might think that that's all we do. You might wonder, when are you guys going to protest again? Well, it's not like that, you know. It's not like that.
And you know something I've had to combat this year, and this, like I said, came from my reading with Brene Brown. I had to learn how to sit with my joy. See, there's this thing that happens when we experience trauma over and over again, where when we experience joy, it's almost fleeting because we're waiting for what we call the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And whenever we get happy or something joyful happens, we really get, and I'll just speak with me, really, I would get full of fear in that moment because it felt like it was a countdown until how long? Until something bad happens and takes away that joy, right? And so what I was doing is over time, over years, I was short-circuiting myself and cheating myself out of the joys of life by not living in the moment and experiencing true joy. Every time I felt joy, I was waiting for pain to come after, right? And pain's already gonna just come. That happens with life. You get hot, you get cold, there's light, there's dark, there's pain, there's joy, right? But by not enjoying the joy and staying present in that, right? That's one of the things that led to depression, right? When you don't experience joy enough, you experience depression, right? And so in my journey, that's one of the things I've discovered in my journey to be a more mentally healthy person, is to sit in joy, let it wash over me, let it stay, let it drip off of me, and don't rush through that moment. Just stay in it, right? Because, you know, when it's time to go, it'll go, but just let it stay. Don't worry about what's going to happen next. Just enjoy joy. And that's been a revolutionary shift in my mindset that I think has really helped my mental health.
And I think it's important. I think it's important to do, especially when you have 3 Black men on the podcast and we're talking about mental health and wellness. And all of us know the stigma that comes attached with Black men in particular asking for help, Black men admitting that something is wrong. Now, also want to make a quick shift because we've got a special guest that's joining us. This brother's name is Omar Gent. He's currently incarcerated in Colorado. Brother Omar, are you here?
Yes, my brother, I'm here.
All right. What's the sound like? Pretty good, Julian, that you can hear him? All right. Hey, listen, brother, we've got quite a few people on tonight watching our podcast. We're talking about mental health and wellness as it relates to Black men. And also, a lot of the people that are on tonight haven't heard you in a while. It's been difficult for us to connect. And listen, brother, who are you and what do you got going on?
Well, I want to thank everybody, first and foremost, I want to thank the creator for just giving me another day, peace of mind and a sound mind. Thank you for inviting me onto this beautiful platform. Thank you, everybody, for coming together. And I was listening to the end of what you was talking about, the last topic, and I read something where you were saying about how it's hard for a lot of Black men to ask for help. I understand where you're coming from on that point. And I read something where it said true humility is knowing your limitations and also knowing when to ask for help, So we have to help our brothers and our sisters too get to that point of humility, knowing that it's okay to recognize your limitations and ask for help. And first and foremost, thank you once again. And my name is Omar Jeremy Gent. I'm lawfully incarcerated in the state of Colorado by Colorado's no indictment lockup scheme, a legal lockup scheme, as exposed on my website, freeourbrothers.com. And I'm just asking everybody if they can to go to the site and look it up. Also go to the Instagram at Free Our Brothers, and it basically lays out my campaign, my video campaign pointing towards Leslie Garrett, state representative. We asking her to step up and take action.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, why are you standing up? Why not just, and some people have asked me this, why don't those guys just do their time and move on? Why do you choose to stand up in the belly of the beast? What do you say to those types of questions and comments that people have?
Oh man, that's a powerful question, my brother. First and foremost, I just think about the legacy of the ancestors, the universal spirit of resistance, that kept us going. When one ancestor passes on, physically they're gone, but I believe the spirit of resistance and the lessons that they taught us, it can go from person to person, through generations, through us observing the lessons and knowing our history, knowing our culture, and that's very important to me. When I think about all the things that my people been through, of African vein and blood, and I think about who am I to give up in this day and age when I have it, in my point of view, a lot easier than a lot of my ancestors had it, So I can't give up. I have to stand up and speak for those who maybe can't articulate themselves because of mental health issues, or maybe can't read or don't have the courage, So humility, I just I step forward and say, let me put this burden on my back and stand up.
Right. I wanted to also ask this question. We were talking about mental health and wellness, and we were just talking about some some grounding techniques that we use to stay balanced while we're out here free or so-called free, living our life. All right, now here you are doing the same work that we're doing. I know that it's a great chance that you come upon pushback, opposition, and hard trials What do you do to stay balanced doing this work and also being a confined citizen at the same time?
Every day I try to, to stay in contact with the Creator. I make sure that I go ahead and, meditate, pray, do some spiritual reading, with the Quran and the Bible. Also read the Final Call newspaper, encourages me greatly. Also the teachings of Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Everybody may not agree with his point of view and how he brings his message, but the brother basically helped to save my life and other brothers in here. That we're able to find strength and courage and move forward. I also make sure that I watch what I eat. There's a lot of junk food going around in here and, things that people use to escape. But I try to keep a healthy diet, make sure I get plenty of exercise, water, fresh air, sunlight, just keep my spirit going. I call what you putting maybe a bulletproof vest around your mental state, making sure I read things that are positive, learn about the past, to figure out where I'm where I am, currently and where I want to go,
Right, right. Earlier you talked about there's a video on Instagram regarding your case, regarding what you're doing in Colorado that may affect all of our other brothers and sisters that are incarcerated. What's the video about? I tried to bring it up, but I wasn't able to bring it up because I wanted to play it. What's the video about? Who is it directed to? And what made you come up with the idea to do a video and put it out on Instagram anyway?
Basically, I had no other choice, my brother, because the courts don't want to hear me. I went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court years ago. They don't want to hear me, and I realized that, once I'm alone and isolated, they can just keep denying me. So my point of view was, with the internet, thank Allah for that. It's the equalizer, in my eyes, to where you can get the word out to the people, even when the courts and everybody else don't want to hear what you have to say. The video is at Instagram at Free Our Brothers, RE Citizens. It's directed towards Representative Leslie Herod, happens to be a black woman, and we're bringing the video to her and other people that's tagged below the video because we want them to basically, do their duty. I'm asking them to call for a federal investigation, especially Representative Leslie Herod, her being the chair of the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus out here. If you can, I'm asking people to please leave a voicemail on this number for her, 303-866-2959. 303-866-2959. That's 303-866-2959. And please ask our sister, encourage our sister to answer the video and also as well answer the letters that I wrote her in July. She had them, her staff notified, she received them. Her staff notified that they did get the letters, but still is no response. And with all due respect, I'm asking the people to please encourage her to, give her the strength, help her, because, she was on CNN maybe a few months ago, a month and a half ago, and unfortunately, she was in a legislative session, and a Caucasian colleague of hers called her buckwheat, totally disrespected her. She was on CNN bringing this point up, and that's why, I reached out to her, letting her know, hey, you have a system. That's what the videos focus on. It's calling, African Americans first and foremost, or black people, first and foremost, buckwheat, treating us like Dred Scott, saying we have no rights, the white man must respect. And it's going around all our rights to railroad us in prison. That's freeourbrothers.com speaks to, I just need the people to please give her the strength, encourage her, push our beautiful sister, our wonderful sister, to help support what I'm doing.
All right, so what I'm going to ask someone to do is put that number in the chat. For any of us that are watching this podcast, could you call out that number again? We want to put it in the chat. and we want to ask her to review the video, to view the video. So we want to call this person. We want to leave a message, view the video. Free our brothers. Right. Free our brothers. View the video.
What's the number?
What's Omar, what's the number?
Area code 303-866-2959. And the video is posted at Instagram at Free Our Brothers. That's Instagram at Free Our Brothers. We don't have internet access in here, so I don't have the chance to see her, Miss Leslie Harris, contacts, but all that is posted on the Instagram site at Free Our Brothers.
Okay. And I don't know if we were tagged in the Instagram, but I follow you on Instagram. So I'm going to grab that post and I'm going to share it too. And I implore all of us that are watching this podcast to follow freeourbrothers.com on Instagram. You'll be able to receive the same updates that CSRN receives regarding what's happening in Colorado. And if it's happening in Colorado, it's happening in Ohio. If it's happening in Ohio, it's a great chance it's happening in.
To review the tape.
Review the tape. Review the tape. She'll know.
I want to bring it to people's attention that it's so nobody gets confused. I have a primary website, freeourbrothers.com, that lays out, my legal struggle and how they're railroading everybody to prison around the no indictment issue. And then Instagram at Free Our Brothers is my secondary website where the video is posted.
All right, and right now we have the website up. We also got a question for you. This is from Julian Mack, our spokesperson. Hey, Julian.
Hey, revolutionary greetings, Brother Omar.
How you doing, brother? Good to hear your voice.
All right. Hey, there was a new study, I think, that by Columbia University that analyzed some of the numbers of prisoners put in solitary confinement from 2007 to 2018. Now, this just came out Friday, so I'm not sure if you had a chance to hear about it, but I wanted to definitely get some feedback from you. I'm going to let you know what it is, and then I want to hear some feedback from you. They found that about 11% of black men, 11% of black men have been placed in solitary confinement for at least one day by the time that they were 32 years old. They also found that 9% of all black men have been held in solitary confinement for at least 15 consecutive days. Now, keep in mind, the Mandela rule, I think, has been brought up here in CSRN before, which is the United Nations banned solitary confinement for more than 15 days straight due to long-term psychological issues. And they've actually concluded that nearly 1 in 100 black men have been in solitary confinement for at least a full year by age 32. And we make up half of the prison population. And this was done in Pennsylvania, but they say that these numbers correlate to the rest of America. Being up close to this, what would you say these effects are? Do you think that these numbers correlate across the country? And what can we do to try to stop this psychological torture that's going on uniquely in the United States?
Thank you for updating me on that study, brother. I think the numbers, I can't prove it. I haven't done a widespread study, but I think the numbers may be even higher, because if you think of the great brother Fred Hampton, I think he was assassinated at the age of 21, and he wasn't even 30 years old yet. So when you have these enemy systems that fear young, black males and our young sisters, our minds, because being the most oppressed group, one of the most oppressed groups in America, they want to, break our minds and our spirits, because so often the resistance comes from us. And solitary confinement is a tool used to mostly silence anybody that's, using their mind to, if you look at California, using their minds to, learn about oppression, to organize, whether it be hunger strike, whether it just be giving brothers powerful books to open up their minds, so they use these type of forms of repression to basically isolate you from the public and put what I call false leaders who don't have the teachings or desire within the street organization, some people say gangs, to lead people in the right direction. So they will move one person or a group of persons and replace them with misled individuals, so they can keep brother fighting against brother and keep the perpetuation of senseless violence and killing going on. What we can do to stop this, we need to get straight at the heart of the issue, which is the mass incarceration beast, and also we need to reach out to our brothers and sisters behind these walls, make sure that the system sees that we are supporting our brothers and sisters. We are keeping a strong line of communication. We're there for them. We won't let them be buried. We won't let them be isolated, abused. We won't let them be broken. And because, to be honest with you, my brothers and sisters, when we get signs of support, we get letters, we get people calling up here asking for us, man, that gives us just strength. When we see, because, we don't see what y'all see out there as far as the internet and various means of communication when y'all able to communicate and talk. We don't have that in here. The point of that isolation is to keep people away from that human, physical, or sometimes mental support. So we need y'all to reach in, extend your arms in love and say, we got you,
Yeah, and we do got you. I'm, as a former confined citizen, it is true that solitary confinement is used as a buck breaking tactic. During my incarceration, that's where I joined the Nation of Islam. I got registered once I left, but there are many brothers that I've seen that they use solitary confinement. I was one of them, and there's many more, and that creates a vacuum for leadership within the inmate population. So they'll have the most compliant inmate that they'll rise up as the leader if Washington's Julian's in a hole, Omar's in a hole, and Jody's in the hole. This is happening right now. It's happening in Colorado. It's happening in Ohio. And I agree with the study, and the study is what's being reported. All right, the numbers that they are allowed to gather.
Right.
And the Bureau of Prisons is going to give them some numbers. They say stats don't lie, but liars use stats.
Right.
At the same time. But I'm just overjoyed that here we are where we are. All right.
I'll call right back.
No, we're getting ready to shut it down. All right. Well, we're going to tell Brother Omar that we were ready to shut it down, anyway, because we're closing in on our last leg. And what we're going to do right now, if it's okay with you, Julian, if we can go ahead, take a short break. That way, if Omar gives us a call during the break, we can let him know, hey, look, we're coming back on with 5 minutes of heat, and he can hang out with Jody for 5 minutes of heat. And if we do some quick loose ends, what do you think about that?
That sounds great.
All right. Hey, look, we're going to play our audio commercial. We'll be back. This is CSRN, our weekly podcast, Video Minutes. Join us. We'll be right back.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
All right, we are back, and we're back with Brother Omar too. This is the CSRN video, our video minutes, our weekly podcast. And what I'm going to do right now for Julian, let me do a quick mute because I'm getting some feedback on your end. I don't know if you can mute, and then when it's time for you to talk, if you can, let's see if it fixes it. All right. Hey, all right. He's never sounded so good as when he's muted. All right. Hey, listen, we are back. This is CSRN Podcast, our weekly video minutes. We're going to tie up some loose ends right now, and then we're going to get right into 5 minutes of heat with Jody Summers and wrap up with the Solidarity Pledge. Hey, listen, let me bring Omar back on. Hey, Brother Omar. All right. Hey, listen. All right. Hey, listen, before you left, we were talking about the video on Instagram. We were talking about why it's so important to get involved, and also we were talking about the prevalence of us being put in solitary confinement as what I call a buck-breaking tool. I was victim of that, and many of the men that was incarcerated with me that wanted to change. Not take over the prison, but just wanted to be treated like a human being. There was a place for you, in the hole. In closing out, what do you want the people that are listening to this podcast right now to know about you?
Well, I'm going to sum this up. I'm just going to say I want everybody to know that the issue that I'm bringing forward to the people is about me, and it's about everybody that's listening as well. Because, injustice anywhere, the threat to justice everywhere. So it's not this Colorado issue. I mean, once again, like I was saying before in previous podcasts, you have people from every state here, people from Ohio, people from Florida, people from Georgia, people from different countries, Mexico, Vietnam. So it's an issue that affects everyone, and it spreads like not to be funny, like a vaccine mandate. Injustice when it's not checked, it spreads. So that's why I need everybody to get involved, and also solitary confinement, like you spoke of, good brother. The term that I once came up with, I was thinking about intellectual solitary confinement, where you can be around a lot of people, or just crowds of people, and you're isolated because nobody really is like-minded, and you can't relay your thoughts to those people who don't want to move on them, who's intimidated by them, or basically don't want to hear them. So the prison system does that. So this platform, beautiful platform, allows me to get my thoughts out, allows me to connect with those of you who are like-minded, who want to help, overturn these unjust systems. Thank you for all that. And I want people to know that I'm just fighting for not just myself. I was writing in one of my letters to somebody, I can't remember, I write so much, that I was telling my wonderful black sisters especially, if you have a system that circumvents all law, due process of law, Emancipation Proclamation, International Bill of Rights, all your constitutional rights basically, railroading people, imagine what's going on to the sisters behind bars first and foremost. All women, but particularly, black women, imagine what's going on, and they don't have no voice. They don't have people coming out to see about them. So I'm making a particular pledge and asking my wonderful sisters to please stand up for women out here who don't have no voice.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Look, as we close out, this is our community shout outs and solutions and some of our loose ends. I'll go first, Julian, then you come in, and then we're going to shut it down with 5 minutes of heat. First, I want to send the condolences to the Malcolm X family. His daughter, Malika Shabazz, was found dead in her apartment last week. And also, I want to give a shout out to the Nation of Islam as the last remaining two that was incarcerated for the assassination of Malcolm X were released from prison. And in the 30 years that I've been a member of the Nation of Islam, one of the reoccurring things was, didn't y'all kill Malcolm? Well, in the past year, we've learned that the New York Police Department was heavily involved. Seen the last two exonerated. So we asked this question in our last final call for the FBI to open all the files, unredact everything, so that we could see who was involved. All right, so that we could see who planned, who had the gun, and why. So, and I'm glad that these revelations are coming out. But unfortunately, with the United States government, usually they will tell a part of the truth 50 to 60 years after it's happened. But, everything happens in God's time anyway, regardless if we like it or not. So those are my two loose ends that I wanted to tie up. Oh, and also last week was my 30th year anniversary to Sister Yvette Muhammad. So if you're watching this, Sister Yvette, which you're probably not, but that's cool too. We'll talk about that when I get home and say absolutely nothing about what I'm saying. And it's been a joy to be married to you, Yvette. And it is a such thing as a better half. And and she makes me Brother Washington. I wouldn't be Brother Washington without Sister Yvette. She's my balance. She's my fulcrum to make sure that I don't go too far as I already do. So those are my loose ends that I wanted to tie up that I didn't get to last week. Julian, let me try to unmute you. I can't unmute you. But before we get to 5 minutes of heat, we wanted to just tie up some loose ends regarding what's happening in the community.
He's watching his phone. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's okay.
I
We wanted
get to watch my phone.
Right. We wanted to chop some loose ends regarding what's going on in our community and particularly politics. And then we're going to wrap up with 5 minutes of heat with Jody. Brand new poem called Therapy.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that COVID is still here, right? And COVID's still around. And while, it's leaving the headlines, right? It's much different than it was a year ago. Folks are still dying from COVID. And, there are precautions we can take to protect our community and to protect ourselves and to, eliminate or at least mitigate this virus. I highly encourage everyone to take those measures, that we're lucky to have available, right? But just keep that in mind, right? I think it's easy for us to let our guard down. And maybe touch something and touch your face, but keep in mind, right? There's still an unprecedented amount of death surrounding COVID-19 and the variants that derive from it. So please be safe out here and take care of yourself, get tested, and take the necessary precautions to eliminate this from our community.
All right. Big up. All right. Thank you, Julian. Hey, listen, we've got a couple of minutes left, and we're going to shift. Man, those were some powerful loose ends. All right. Jody, we don't normally close out with a gavel or someone saying meeting adjourned. Man, we put a spin on it, and we call it 5 minutes of heat. What do you have for us today. And let me mute Julian again. Something's up with that speaker that causes a lot of feedback on our end. And then we'll bring you back in.
You got one of the audio books going.
Then we'll bring you back in for the Solidarity Pledge.
Yep.
All right. So what do you got for us today?
Well, I guess a couple loose ends too. Shout out to you, Omar, too, and Idisha. Right before you, it's like your psychic link. But she was just saying, let's talk about them locking up the sisters. So just iconically,
okay.
through all of that miscommunication and barriers and stuff, we're on the same path. So
Beautiful.
That was awesome. I guess my 2 cents or loose ends is this is holiday season. A lot of people try and be family just for the season, or don't have family just for the season. The reason why this time of year we see suicide rates go up, addiction rates go up, stuff like that, because a lot of people hold on to stuff all year long. Wow. Make it through all year long, and then it comes to holidays. And for people that's on social media or invited to workspaces, it does bring up those triggers. So not just be aware of you having a large family or a small family. They get a person that has no family, that intentionally don't, if they say they don't want to go somewhere or stuff like that, let them be that way, or invite them. Because they may never ask to go because they had never been invited somewhere before.
All right.
Where it was nice. So for the holiday season, just remember your neighbor is still your neighbor. Doesn't matter what they believe, what they inject, what they are going through, especially those that are strong. Because it's always the people that are the strongest that deal with so much, they will never give it to anybody else. It just slowly erodes them on the inside.
Okay. Before we go to 5 minutes of heat, we have this thing with Julian when we say, hey, look, say everything that you could possibly say. And he said it.
Well, he turned his mic off earlier for that 2 cents.
Yeah, I do.
Get it back on because we have one more sentence.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Got a one nickel.
Yeah, so apparently Mr. Hobbs, District 1 councilman, had some comments to say about the violence that has gone on in our community. And I quote, I promise you that had a white man done any of these shootings, had a police officer shot someone, had white police officers shot anyone in our community, it would have been camera phones everywhere, he said. But because it's black on black, nobody's saying a word. Where's Black Lives Matter at? Because nobody white's doing it, they didn't show up. If my life matters, then my life must matter, no matter who takes my life. I would just like to respond to District 1 Councilman Hobbs. If you know anything about the work that we do, we've been very clear. Intrapersonal violence happens in segmented ways in the white community, in the black community, in any kind of demographic. Violence occurs. To single out black on black violence is a method of white supremacy. In fact, we know. Here's what we know: that resources deter violence. Resources deter violence, and at every single point, at least over the past 7 years, we have been there to make a call for our depleted communities to be fully resourced so that we can be safe, so that we can get properly educated, and make our neighborhoods a safe, welcoming place to live. We along with many others in our community, have done everything we can do to try to decrease the violence, and we continue to do so. But this is a result of years of divesting from our communities, as opposed to investing in our communities. So, just to be clear, where is Black Lives Matter at? We're right where we've always been, in the community, doing our best to pull the community together and to speak truth to power to what will heal our community. So I just wanted to directly address those, what I would say, ignorant results, to try to blame and connect Black Lives Matter with the violence that's happening in our community is ignorant at best. And I almost can't believe it, right? If we got a Black person on city council doing that type of work for.
Okay.
Black Lives Matter for violence in our community. We could have a right Republican there if we wanted somebody to do and say that. So I'm honestly offended by that. I didn't see those comments late, but I thought it was important that we respond and put Brother Hobbs on notice, and we welcome Brother Hobbs to come to the front of the congregation. That invitation is open if he would like to engage with us or any other aspects of the Black community.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for responding. Hey, listen, we just got a little bit more time left, and I want to shift to 5 minutes of heat. It is what it is, Julian. It is what it is. Jody.
So, honestly, and then we're gonna do 5 minutes of heat. I've heard this a lot, and because I'm not in the headspace of emotionally activating right now, I can say this because my sister asks me the same question of where are you guys when Black on Black violence happens? We're not Batman. We're not vigilantes hunting out people who might be doing wrong. We are trying to make sure that those that are supposed to do that job are doing it doing it with accountability and spending the dollars that we work to pay them correctly. BLM, Black Lives Matter, is not the Black Panther movement. We're not out here organized with guns and stuff. We disseminate our each different values by who we are. We are grassroots. We're not funded. Those organizations that are funded, you see what happens to them. So for the people that say, where are your local grassroots groups that do this stuff? In the community centers, in the healthcare field, and the prisons, in restaurants. And then we come out to volunteer to try and protect those we care about.
Okay.
All right. So.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I share, brother.
Yep. So, again, this process has been rough. The last 6-7 years with us, and then even longer with me. And a lot of people see the stuff that's in my personal life and don't understand that that's all me. I am very good at my vulnerability because I have to live with it every day. I am very good at isolation because that's who I am most of the time. And there's some things I like. Sometimes one of those little things gets off balance, whether it be my heart, my mind, my spirit. But I normally am good at taking time away. I was good at using that talent to create art and poetry. So Brother Washington and me had to talk. I think it was last week, a week before last. And it hit a trigger of what I see in society nowadays, especially between friends or social media, likers, that they always want to be your therapist. when they get mad at you, or when they don't know how to do something, they're tiptoeing around and saying just some quote they heard from somebody that went to school for years to learn those skills. And it's supposed to be better. So that trigger made me write this as, again, it's been a rough past couple of months, as I've seen from my friends all over the world, losing friends and businesses and organizations. Pandemic was tough on itself. And since we've been staring at these screens, a lot of us have forgotten to communicate with each other. If there's a person there, if they have feelings, you can't just hit delete, erase, and they'll go away, because now you're just still not solving anything. Communication is like therapy. So I thank Brother Washington for pulling this piece out of me. And hopefully, if you're out there listening, maybe you'll talk to your friend before it's too late. Let's begin. Peace. I don't want you to be my therapist. I just want you to be my friend. Just listen without judging me or trying to overanalyze everything I do. Call me on my bull, because I'm not paying you. I'm giving you my time, and that's the most valuable, yes, valuable thing that I have. I'm so tired of everyone trying to be everyone's therapist, digging up problems they really don't want to deal with. Just a nice quote here or a comment there, and it's supposed to be okay. Don't attach to me if you're trying to fix me, or feel sorry because you don't see no one around today. I just want a friend, someone I can make memories with and share where I got this scar from, about the time where I struggled and felt alone, but I still made it, and now you're here, right there by my side. Please don't make memories with me if I'm going to have to make a scar out of you too. I don't want you to be my therapist. I just want you to be my friend. Comprehend when I talk, and don't just listen. Don't tiptoe around my emotions because you're trying to look like a better person. Be honest with me so that way I get to know you. If there's something you don't understand, just ask. I don't have time to waste on people who just want to be around so they can feel better. So at some point they can stop investing, withdraw their memories, and take off like they never knew you. I'm not talking to you on this level so you can try and fix something. I'm speaking to you and spending this time with you because I care. Trying to open up to someone is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in this life, because it's not about loyalty, it's about trust. I'm trusting you with my tears. I'm trusting you with my time. I'm trusting you with my honesty. I'm trusting you in hopes that this won't turn out just like the last time. Having to make memories with someone new and slowly forgetting about you because I spent so much time getting to know you. I don't want you to be my therapist. I just want you to be my friend. Walk with me as I walk with you, and communicate with me if I do anything, yes, anything that stunts our growth. So I can keep calling you my friend. In peace.
All right, Jody, and we snap our fingers, we don't clap our hands. And
Thank Brother Washington for that one. He's awesome.
All right, well, that is true. All right, so I've heard. Hey, listen, we're gonna go ahead and wrap on up. Who's gonna do the pledge? Do you have the pledge with you, Julian? All right.
You get to speak.
I get to what?
What?
Oh man, Ruth ain't here.
A blue moon, she go pop in.
Oh, I know.
She'll
Ruth
kick
ain't
the door
here.
down. Hold up.
I feel like a runaway slave.
Don't mess it up. This is your one chance.
Right.
I know. Look, I'm going to blow it.
Right.
Ruth ain't here.
Don't go adding anything.
Don't go backwards. No.
All right. All right. Now, okay, I got you. I see what you did there. All right. Hey, this is our solidarity pledge. This is a verbal contract that we write every week, every day to ourselves. So it's a call and response. And those of you that are watching, you can call and respond from where you're at. Say I.
I,
Your name.
Jody.
Julian,
Pledge to strive.
pledge to strive
To love my brothers and my sisters.
to love my brothers and my sisters
As I love myself.
as I love myself.
I.
Your
name.
Julian,
Pledge to strive.
pledge to strive,
To study.
to study,
To improve myself.
to improve myself
Spiritually.
spiritually,
Mentally.
mentally,
Morally. And
and
physically.
and physically,
For the benefit of myself.
for the benefit of myself,
My family.
my family,
And my people.
and my people.
I.
Your
name.
Julian Mack,
Pledge to strive.
pledge to strive,
To be a part of the solution.
to be a part of the solution,
The process. And not the problem.
not the problem.
I.
Your
name.
Julian Mack,
Pledge to strive.
pledge to strive,
To give all that I could spare.
to give all that I can spare
Of my time.
of my time,
My strength.
my strength,
And energy.
and energy
To achieve.
to achieve
The above said.
the above said.
Brothers, give yourselves a hand. We did it once again, the CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast. Be it the will of the universe. We'll have Ruth next week to tell us what to do. All right, we ain't got to do it. We just have to do what she say. All right. Hey, listen, and as always, it's awesome being here. And as we say, all lives can't matter until
Black Lives Matter.
And Black lives can't matter until
all Black lives matter. Justice or else. Peace.
Peace.
Yay.